Joining me now, talk about this for a moment and then pleasanter things. Vivek Ramaswamy, businessman, author of Truths, The Future of America First. All right, Vivek, welcome to the show. I want to dig into some more pleasant issues, but this Barack Obama speechifying, I guess he was in Pittsburgh or someplace, gave a couple speeches, playing the race card. Not the economy, not immigration, not crime, not safety, not anything. It's all about race. And he's telling the brothers, quote unquote, to get back on board. What do you make of that? How do you see this one?
I think it's deeply disappointing, Larry. Frankly, one of the encouraging things about this election is we're seeing the breaking apart of so-called ethnic coalitions. Many Hispanics, many black Americans coming aboard for the first time to the Republican Party to vote for Donald Trump. I think that's a beautiful thing. One of the accomplishments of the civil rights movement was to say that you can't predict something about somebody's content of character based on the color of their skin. Yet now the modern Democratic Party says based on the color of your skin, you're obliged to vote for a particular candidate. That's deeply disappointing. But I'll give you one silver lining on this, Larry, is that when the Democrats lose this election, as I hope and increasingly expect they will, I hope it's their lesson that identity politics doesn't work. Because here's what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz actually both share in common. You think about this, one's a black woman, one's a white man. Both of them got their job as vice presidential nominee because of their race and gender. So it turns out identity politics doesn't work in any direction. It didn't even work when they tried to go with Tim Walz in that direction either. So when they lose, I hope that's a lesson, not just for Democrats, but for the entire country, that we're done with the race baiting, we're done with the identity politics, and we want a country that lifts all of us up, regardless of our skin color, and unites Americans based on our ideology, rather than our race, our gender, or our skin color. That'll be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well said, Vivek, well said. Now, a fellow you know a week ago tonight, actually last Friday, interviewed a former president you know, and I want to just play some tape on what he had to say, because it goes to a lot of policy reforms that you also know about. Take a listen, please. They insulted Elon, and now they're going to need him to restore
Well,
power.
he was great. He came through. He does come through. He would be incredible on that commission, and we'll do
that's the thing, and you not only cut spending, I think you can take a strong look at some of these agencies, and you know the ones I'm talking about. I mentioned them a moment ago, that really are not doing their job. They've become very political.
Well, the one thing we want to do is education. We want to move education back to the states.
Right.
We'll spend less than half. You have to see Washington. It seems like every building's Department of Education. For what?
All right, there you have it. He's going to start with education, kind of move down the line, Vivek. And I know that this is near and dear to your heart. So what do you make of it?
Yeah. Look, I think this is great because I don't think it's possible, Larry. Many conservatives in the past have wanted to go reform that bureaucracy, tinker around the edges, be incremental about it. I don't think that works. If you cut off one head of an eight-headed hydra, it grows right back. You have to go to the center of the beast and actually just dismantle it. So we're not in there to reform this bureaucracy. We want to get in there and actually shut it down. Shut down the Department of Education. Send that money back to the states and to the people. And not just the Department of Education, but I think countless other departments in the federal bureaucracy as well. I'm pretty convinced that you could take over half of the federal employees, remove them from the federal bureaucracy, and it would actually function more effectively rather than less. What Elon did at Twitter, I think, is what needs to be done across the entire federal bureaucracy. I'm very optimistic about the Government Efficiency Commission as well. And I think that a lot of the levers we're going to pull here, I think, go beyond just usual partisan talking points. This is about restoring self-governance, where the people we elect to run the government, for God's sake, are the ones who actually run the government again in this country, rather than that class of unelected bureaucrats, which has grown like a cancer in Washington, D.C.
You know, Vivek, listening to this brings music to my ears, too. But I want to ask a couple things. First of all, are you including what I will call the national security agencies? You may not wish to abolish them, but you may want to redo them, reform them, something, certainly repopulate them. And then there's the economic regulatory agencies, the SEC, the FCC, the FTC, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I wouldn't want to brush over them. I think every single one of those areas, at the very least, needs a house cleaning. Now, whether you can get away with abolishing some of them, as you suggest, I might be all for that. But they all need house cleaning, and they all need better people running them, not left-wing ideologues.
So I want to talk about those regulatory agencies for a second, Larry, because one of the most remarkable things that's been happening is that those agencies, the ones you named, three-letter agencies, from the FTC to the SEC to a number of others, to the EPA, they have been consistently, not even by like a little bit, consistently losing in federal court. So they're wasting public resources to go after different actors in the private sector. You've got fishermen cases, you've got private sector actor cases, you've got coal miners, that when they go to court, they are losing. So that means the agencies tasked with supposedly enforcing the law actually have no regard for the law itself. These agencies have lost their legitimacy. They've lost their constitutional legitimacy. The Supreme Court and the federal courts repeatedly slapping them down, saying that you are not enforcing the rules as you're supposed to actually have read those rules as Congress initially enacted them. One of the biggest events that happened was this year, overturning of Chevron deference in the Loper case. That changes the game entirely. Because before that, there was this general doctrine that federal courts had to engage in deference, had to defer to the interpretation of these administrative three-letter agencies. That is no longer good law. The law now is that agencies no longer receive that deference from federal court. This changes the game completely, Larry. Add on to that West Virginia versus EPA from 2 years ago that said if it's a major policy question, you can't write it by regulation. It had to be done by Congress. That quite literally means that a majority, literally a majority of those federal regulations are likely unconstitutional under current Supreme Court doctrine. That is the basis for mass regulatory reform of a kind we have not seen in modern American history. And I do think our founding fathers will be proud when we go in there and actually implement it, both by thinning out the regulations and by thinning out the bureaucracy that in many cases distorts those regulations to serve as a wet blanket on our economy. You want to grow the economy, the number one way to do it is this regulatory reform. Take that wet blanket off. That's how we make America great again.
And I don't want us to forget, though, on top of the economic three-letter agencies or whatever, you know, the national security establishment, both the structure, the institutions of it, and, of course, the embedded people who are running these things year in and year out. I think that's got to get a good look. I mean, if President Trump wins, I think he's got to really spend some elbow grease and some time looking at the whole national. In some ways, that national security grouping of institutions, you know, Vivek, that thing is the same as it was when Harry Truman and James Forrester put up the Pentagon right after World War II. I mean, that's how far back these agencies go. The CIA is the same way. The FBI goes back even longer than that. But I'm just saying, let's not overlook those agencies either.
Absolutely. You're spot on about this, Larry. And this isn't particularly even a Democrat versus Republican point. This is a nonpartisan point. Taking a look at agencies that have lost their way, that in the name of national security have actually betrayed protecting American national security while creating civil liberty threats in the meantime. Virginia Military Institute, VMI, actually invited John Bolton and myself to have a debate. And it was a respectful, at times heated, but respectful debate a couple of weeks ago. And I do think that there's room for generational perspectives of difference here, Larry, where if you grew up in the era of the Berlin Wall falling, you might have great trust in the U.S. national security state. But if you look at the failures of the last 20 years, you know that it takes a fresh perspective to say that the methods of 1980 aren't exactly what's going to give us deliverance today. I'd put the U.S. Federal Reserve, that's not in the national security state, but the same thing. Last 20 years, completely lost its way as a new managerial class has taken over. Same thing that happened in the national security state. So the way you're going to do this, I don't think, is just through incrementally bringing the chisel. I think you got to bring the chainsaw with respect to the bureaucracy itself. And you know what? If you're always going to take a risk, right, Larry? I can't tell you we know we're going to cut the exact right amount. But the risk is, are you not going to cut enough? Or are you going to take the risk even of cutting a little too much, but then finding out you did and having to rebuild that? That's the risk I'm willing to take. I think we're willing to take. And if we're going to save our country, that's what our founding fathers would say if they were here as well. Sometimes you got to start with a blank slate and build up rather than trying to just tinker around the edges, which is a mistake that I think Republicans have made in past decades.
All right. Well, there may be a terrific opportunity coming up. Anyway, thank you ever so much, Vivek Ramaswamy. We appreciate your wisdom as always.